Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian lad, and today I've watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 2 at 0.25 big speed. I'm gonna break it down scene by scene and try to explain what everything really means, while also giving you lads some amazing details along the way. So that's the reason why my weekly breakdowns are longer than usual. I don't only talk about Easter eggs and details here. I'll try to explain every scene, and if that scene happens to have an Easter egg or something that I noticed in slow motion, I'm gonna talk about that too. So this is like a complete breakdown plus my 0.25 big speed series. But before I begin, I'd like to thank Skillshare once again for sponsoring today's video. For those of you who don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community which offers membership with meaning. You probably heard me talk about Skillshare again and again on my channel, but that's because they're a brand that I really feel can be helpful to so many people. Aside from having classes on so many different topics, ranging from business to illustration or film and music, I recently have been checking out some classes on cooking to improve my home chef skills. I found a class called Italian Chef's Secrets by Nick Andrer, who is an executive chef. He will teach you how to make a pizza from scratch, and making me confident that I don't need to be an executive chef to pull off making an amazing pizza. And not just cooking, there are thousands of classes you can learn from. And right now, the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get 30% off on annual premium membership so that you can explore your creativity. And if you've already done a free trial of Skillshare, you can still take advantage of this offer. So click on my link right now. Today's episode begins by giving us a little bit of the backstory of John Walker, aka the US agent, aka the new Captain America. He's in the US Army and has a resume like nobody else. Comic book readers knew it already, but the first time we got to know his name is when he hovers his hand over this name tag. I wasn't sure whether to hate this guy or like him when I was watching this intro. He seems aware of the shoes that he has to fill. Even his partner Hoskins knows that the suit comes with responsibilities. But no matter how much we hate this new Captain America, you've got to admit that this guy got some guts.
You nervous?
Never.
This is probably what led to the government giving him the shield in the first place. But notice what Hoskins tells John Walker.
You can't just punch your way out of problems anymore, you know?
You can't just punch your way out of problems anymore, implying John is a brutal soldier. He wouldn't hesitate to kick someone's ass to get the job done. That's why this version of Captain America doesn't think twice before using his gun. But Captain America is supposed to be a little more diplomatic. He has to hear both sides before jumping to conclusions. Now notice the action figure he signed is not of Steve Rogers, it's his. So the government didn't pull any punches while trying to promote their new Captain America. So it seems as though the government is always coming up with PR stunts whenever there's a new Cap in town. Now here we actually get to see his backstory, which is being shown on television. He graduated from Custer's Grove High School in Georgia. This is a reference to the comics, because Custer's Grove is John Walker's hometown. He has 3 medals of honor, ran missions on counterterrorism and hostage rescue, and even the government studied his body at MIT. But notice just how fast he throws the shield, even without any super soldier serum. We learned in Captain America 1 that the serum amplifies what's already inside.
The serum amplifies everything that is inside, so good becomes great, bad becomes worse.
So Steve became strong from weak. Then imagine just how much more powerful John Walker will be once he gets the serum. Because he's already strong, so his serum would make him even stronger. But it's a bummer he'll probably be on the wrong side of history. And while all of this are being aired on TV, Bucky is watching it. He still sits on the floor like we've seen in the previous episode. It seems as though he really doesn't have a lot of furniture except a TV. Anyway, so seeing John take on the mantle of Captain America, it actually angers Bucky. He's angry that Sam gave away the shield. Just like the audience, Bucky kept asking Sam again and again throughout the episode, why did you give away the shield when Steve trusted you to keep it? Sam then prepares to go to Germany, as Red Wing managed to track down some of the Flag Smashers. But notice everywhere Sam looks, there's this propaganda poster of the new Captain America. It's like everywhere he goes, well, you get the point. Bucky says he will join Sam on this mission, and they all go to Munich. Sam conveniently flies down from the plane when they arrive at the destination. But poor Bucky literally had to jump. Well, he did ask for a parachute, but it was way too low, so it made more sense to just jump. I think Bucky now has the greatest superhero landing in the MCU. Now Sam and Bucky enter the building where the Flag Smashers were smuggling medicines and vaccines. But notice there is some graffiti on the wall, and all of them are wearing similar kinds of masks as the Flag Smashers. Well, they look more like robbers, but a Flag Smasher connection is more relevant here. Bucky sneaks in and tries to figure out what's going on, but seeing him so stealthy, Sam says this.
Oh, stealthy. Little time in Wakanda and you come out White Panther.
It's actually White Wolf.
Huh?
This scene was epic. The reason Sam compared Bucky's stealthiness to Wakanda is because T'Challa, aka Black Panther, has one of the best stealth suits in the world. And in Civil War, we saw T'Challa's moves and shoes don't make any noise at all. Now in reality, of course, as a former Hydra assassin, Bucky has always been stealthy. He didn't learn this only after visiting Wakanda. And the fact that Bucky said it's actually White Wolf, that's a callback to this scene. Bucky then tells Sam that he's already inside. Therefore, he's way ahead of him. Only to find out that Sam has also made it inside. So the fact that Sam made it inside at the same time as Bucky did tells me that he flew his way in. But the way Bucky got shocked when he saw him implies that Sam has got some advanced stealth suit as well. And I just love the way Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie argued about their abilities.
I got a vibranium arm. I can take the...
And I can fly. Who gives a shit?
This is great writing, good direction, and of course, very well acted. Then comes one of my favorite scenes from today's episode. We see how Bucky outruns a truck. He even outran Falcon for a few seconds. The reason I'm appreciating this scene is because throughout the MCU, we only saw how Steve Rogers ran really fast. We saw it in Civil War, Infinity War, and in Endgame. But we never got to see this ability of Bucky. Well, technically we did in Civil War, but that was only for a couple of frames. Inside the truck, we meet Carly Morgenthau for the first time. Now in the comics, Flag Smasher was called Carl. So either Marvel has entirely swapped the character's gender, or she's the daughter of Carl. Either way, she's kind of running the Flag Smasher. She throws Bucky out of the truck, but Bucky immediately realizes she's a super soldier as well. She even jumped from this moving truck to another. We get an epic fighting sequence here where Red Wing sadly dies.
I always wanted to do that.
Then joins Captain America along with Hoskins. But Sam and Bucky obviously didn't like this interference. Now notice John Walker easily jumped from the helicopter and landed on the roof of the truck, whereas Hoskins needed to use a rope. Which again brings my point, this guy is seriously capable and strong. Cause keep in mind, he's not a super soldier yet. Another scene worth mentioning here is how Bucky helped John Walker by giving him the shield. The look on his face clearly shows he isn't happy. John Walker casually uses a gun and shoots one of the Flag Smashers. I know we saw Steve Rogers using a gun once or twice, but I think if Steve was here, he would still go for hand-to-hand combat, considering none of the Flag Smashers were using guns. But John would rather go for the easier but more brutal option. But eventually all of them got their asses kicked by the Flag Smashers. John offers Sam and Bucky to work together, but they refuse. Bucky says just because you have the shield doesn't mean you're Captain America, but John insists that he didn't get it for free. He has done the work to deserve this. He even jumped on grenades on 4 different occasions, which is what Steve did that eventually made him worthy. But none of it could eventually convince Bucky. Sam still tried to work together until John said this.
It'd be a whole lot easier if I had Cap's wingman on my side.
It's always that last line.
To John, Sam is just a wingman. That's what the government thinks, and that's how they would like to keep it. John even admits that he is kind of the government now. So why did he say it? I'll explain it in a minute. The Flag Smashers then take refuge in a civilian's house, who is quite happy to serve them. According to him, they're a bunch of freedom fighters. He even cooked them food. But notice, in the background we can see the word Hauser. In German it means houses. So it's basically saying we buy houses. We saw the name on Bucky's list. So does it have any connection? I don't think so. And notice this tiny posters all over the wall. In English it says we buy old cars. So this guy doesn't only buy houses but used cars as well. Now inside this house, Carly Morgenthau receives this text. You took what was mine. I'm going to find you and kill you. My theory is this could be John Walker, who sent this text to Carly, saying that she stole something from him. Since Walker doesn't have the super soldier serum yet, I think he planned to get it from Power Broker, but she stole it before he could get his hands on it. So if my theory is correct, John and Hoskins were in there to help Sam and Bucky. In fact, they were here for their own self-interest, but seeing Sam and Bucky, they had to change their plan. And then we learn the real reason Flag Smashers are fighting for. According to Carly, the government cares more about the people who came back from the blip than the ones who never left. Cut to Bucky and Sam, who are on their way home. Bucky proposes they should just take the shield back from John Walker and fight Flag Smashers themselves. But Sam reminds him of what happened when they did that once before. Sharon Carter was branded the enemy of the state. Sam and Cap were on the run for 2 years.
Sharon was branded enemy of the state, and Steve and I were on the run for 2 years.
So with no other options left, Bucky brings Sam to meet Isaiah. Now if you're wondering who Isaiah is, let me give you a little bit of backstory. Isaiah Bradley is the first black Captain America in the comics. Back in 2003, Marvel Comics revealed the secret history of the Super Soldier program. When they revealed, the US government continued its Super Soldier experiments, even after the creation of Captain America. With the government experimenting on 300 black soldiers, Bradley was one of the only ones months to survive the experiment, but he was never celebrated like Steve Rogers. The military faked his death and then warned him to serve on suicide missions if he wanted his family to live. When Bradley traveled to Europe under the mantle of Captain America, the government saw it as a treason, putting him in jail for 17 years. And the MCU has made it even more brutal by making it 30 years. The MCU has pretty much adapted the same story from the comics, but with slight changes. Here's how Isaiah's life must have panned out in the MCU. When Steve Rogers sacrificed himself at the end of World War II, the US military found itself without a super soldier in operation, and presumably that absence became more significant as the country became embroiled in the Korean War. Isaiah Bradley was chosen as a recipient of the super soldier serum, and he went to fight on behalf of his country in the Far East. And that's when he met Bucky, who used to be the Winter Soldier at the time. But when Isaiah returned home, he wasn't treated as a human being. Instead, the government put him in prison for 30 years and experimented on his body because they don't want a black Captain America. Sam shouts at Bucky for not telling him there has been a black super soldier since decades. And hearing their heated conversation, the police intervened and asked for Sam's ID. But notice they never asked Bucky for any identification, and the police officer assumed that Sam was bothering Bucky. But here's something really powerful about this scene. Bucky, being a white person, tells Sam, just give your ID and get this over with. But Sam, knowing what the black community has to go through, he simply refuses and says he won't give the officer any shit. Also, notice how the police officer automatically took Sam's behavior as hostile and told him to remain calm, when he was already keeping calm to begin with.
Just, sir, just calm down.
I am calm. What do you want? We're just standing here
Just
talking.
give him your ID.
No, I'm not giving him shit. We're just talking.
Hey, look, is this guy bothering
No,
you?
he's not bothering me.
I'm so proud right now as a Marvel fan that the creative team has actually decided to focus on police brutality against the black community. Not only that, they're showing just how much a black person has to struggle in their everyday life. If a black superhero who works in the Air Force has to go through this much, then imagine the struggle for an average black person. Now, of course, I'm not saying if you're white, there's no struggle. There's struggle for everyone. The point I'm trying to make is, just because of the color of your skin, you should never have to suffer consequences for a crime you didn't commit. The police then arrest Bucky for missing his court-mandated therapy. So now we know why Bucky visits his therapist despite not liking it. John Walker then bails Bucky out, and even tells his therapist that he won't be coming for any more sessions. When asked who authorized this, John simply points to himself, as he believes he is the government. Again, something Steve would never do. So the question is, why does John possess such level of authority? It's probably because he is what the government wanted Steve Rogers to be. And if you think about it, he can never reach the level of Steve Rogers, because Steve fought the government most of his life, but Walker literally worships them. Dr. Renner then asks Bucky and Sam for a session, which turns into a couple session really quickly. As a result, Dr. Renner had to initiate the soul-gazing protocol. This scene was so freaking funny. I was literally laughing my ass off. Anyway, Bucky then asks Sam some questions that we as an audience have as well. It's clearly visible that Sam is hiding the real reason behind giving up the shield, and I think the reason will have something to do with race, which we should get to know relatively soon. Cut to John Walker, who has now figured Carly Morgenthal's name and what she really does. They're even tracing her whereabouts through all the civilians who are helping her move from one place to another. John really wants to put together a team with all four of them, but Bucky again treats Walker like trash. This conversation ends once again with both groups going their separate ways. But this one line from Walker really makes it easier for the audience to know he isn't the nice guy here.
Stay the hell out of my way.
Cut to Slovakia, where the Flag Smashers are preparing to take off with the stolen serums. But someone informs them that the power broker is coming, so one of the team members decides to sacrifice himself in order to buy the team more time. He successfully does so, as the rest of the Flag Smashers manage to escape. So here's basically what's happening. Power Broker is an organization that creates superhumans, meaning they create super serum, but Flag Smashers stole it from them. So Power Broker is trying to hunt them down, but they failed again as the Flag Smashers escaped. Cuts back to Bucky and Sam, who are trying to come up with a plan to apprehend the Flag Smashers. Bucky comes up with a crazy idea, which is to meet Zemo, who is currently serving his time in prison for his crime in Civil War. Because Zemo has a lot of knowledge of former Hydra activities, so Bucky hopes he can lead them to super soldier experiments that have empowered the Flag Smashers in the first place. But notice Zemo was kept on the raft at the end of Civil War, but in this one he no longer appears to be held on the raft. And notice Baron Zemo is held in cell number 2187. This is the same number as the cell in which Princess Leia was held in the Star Wars film.
Here it is. 2187. You go and get her.
Marvel has a long tradition of referencing Star Wars, with Kevin Feige a huge fan of the franchise. This also serves as a convenient clue to Bucky's real plan. He's not intending to go sit in a room with Zemo, as Sam assumes. Rather, he's planning to break him out. So the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are about to become fugitives once again. And something tells me that because they will have to break him out, so they will give him this mask to put on. Just throwing a little theory out there. Now in the credits, we have one more detail. Notice it says "One World, One People" in Filipino, which of course is the motto of the Flag Smashers.
One word.
One people.
This was in the credits in episode 1 as well, so by the time we're done with this series, a lot of these quotes are gonna make sense. And yes, this kid who answered the door when Sam and Bucky visited Isaiah, he has been given credits as Eli Bradley. So now we have Billy, Tommy, Cassie, Eli in the MCU. America Chavez is supposed to make her debut in Doctor Strange 2. Miss Marvel is currently being filmed, and Kid Loki might appear in the upcoming Loki series, so it's almost a guarantee now that the MCU is heading towards the Young Avengers. And that's it. This would be my breakdown of Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 2. It seems as though Marvel is already planting the seeds for the future. But I'll admit, the Easter eggs were way crazier in WandaVision. Falcon and the Winter Soldier still has relatively okay amounts of Easter eggs, which I think will only increase from now on. Now if you like this video, then please give me a thumbs up and grab the subscribe button if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to get updates about my videos. Till then, I'll see you lads in the next one.